right, so this is a 2017 Ford F-150 Raptor body. Now, this body is originally made for Revo 3.3, T-Maxx, 3.3, and Summit. And generally, when a body is made for a particular vehicle such as that, it generally has these little dimples for one to kind of ream the holes. And the interesting thing about this body is I can't really find them or see them. There's some that look like they may be, for example, here, there, but I don't really see matching ones on the other side, so I'm thinking those might just be defects. Actually, this one matches that one right there. It's the front ones. Or maybe not defects and those are supposed to be it. It could also be that this is so thick that they just probably don't show through. But the Lexan that is used, this is really thick Lexan in comparison to, for example, a Revo body. I would not be surprised this is 50% to twice as thick, to be honest. Once I finish, maybe I'll grab the calipers and see. This is a very, very thick Lexan. But if you're curious about what the part number is, because it's a really cool body, that's the part number right here. So this is a ProLine 3468 -00. So you have not. It comes with these stickers. Now I'm going to get to trimming it shortly. Use a knife to open up the bag. One thing I strongly dislike about many bodies is the stickers are not cut out. And I really dislike that. And yeah, I'm going to have to cut them out. So you will have to cut these out with the blade. Just get a cutting board, put underneath, and then trace over it with a knife. Just make sure whatever you use is sharp. But this is nice. It does have the decals for all the windows. So that's good. I am going to leave the windows clear. But for now, we're going to get to trimming. Now, there's two types of scissors that you're going to be needing. These are straight blade, and then you have these curved ones. Now, these curved, if any of you know of a left-handed pair, do let me know. And when I mean left-handed pair, I mean, see how this blade is on top? So when you open up, this is on the right side, the top blade. So I want the exact same thing, but when I open up, I want the top blade to be on the outside and on the left. Just makes it easier to cut circles going this way, or if I'm going this way. Depending on what bodies you cut, sometimes it makes a difference, sometimes it does not. It just depends. But if you ever have a Tamiya Euro truck, yeah, that body, they would be useful. Now, the first thing to do is select a place to initiate your cuts. I generally like starting somewhere in the wheel wells because this tends to be the softer portion versus this tends to be harder. So the issue you're going to run into is coming up and over through this piece of Lexan. That's the reason why, versus over here. Now, once you cut this, I'll show you. So if I cut through here, you'll be able to fold this easily, but then you have that ugly corner kind of gets in the way, so you can cut some additional plastic. That's fine, it's up to you, additional Lexan. I generally like doing the cuts somewhere here, so I'll go through here, and then I'll go through the Lexan. Be very careful though when you go through here, because the scissors will want to just run, and you don't want to accidentally cut too much. It's better to cut too little than to cut too much. Now, this is the situation where the other scissors would be best, because then the top blade would be on the left side, the lower blade would be on the right, so I could continue this turn, but don't have that luxury. So I'm actually, even though I started this cut, I'm actually going to work my way this way. So with these right-handed scissors, I'm going to make my way left. If I had left-handed scissors, I would make my way right. Like I said, have not found them. If any of you know of any, do let me know. So as of this video, I have not found them. These scissors are made by Dynamite. They come in a pair, so you actually get them both in the pack. You can buy them individually as well. Dynamite, they are good quality at price point. Can you get better scissors? Probably. more expensive, more than likely. If you know a less expensive brand that's similar quality, let me know, just put in the comments. But to be honest, I've cut so many bodies with these scissors and they still hold an edge. Then again, I don't use this for hard stuff. Do not use these to cut, I don't know, wires or any metallic components. Just keep it to soft plastics. Don't cut thick plastics with them. All right, so here you want to curve the scissors this way just to complete this turn. And it's up to you really if you want to continue on with this plastic or not. You could always just trim this off. I generally leave it on. Why? I have no idea. Some satisfaction of just leaving stuff intact. And this part is thick, so make sure you have sharp scissors. If you're fighting this too much, it's time for you to get a new pair of scissors. And the reason why is you're risking the body applying too much pressure and then having the scissors accidentally run. You catch a little sharp edge on the scissors and then they just run, you damage your body. Or worse, you injure yourself. So be careful. The sharper the scissors, the better. One of the worst things you can do is to try to cut this with dull scissors. One of the worst things you can do is trying to cut anything with something dull. And yes, I do switch off. So now that I've cut this little round area, I can continue on. And you just go through. Now, something else when you're cutting, when you're getting to these corners, this is where you can just start cutting some of this material off. Now, you can be stubborn and then continue on. That's fine. Or if you just trim a little piece of plastic, here, this will be better. Just trim a little piece there. This will allow you to flex this a little more. Cut a piece there, and now you can flex this even more. And then you can just continue on. Right in through here. And that's it. So now I'm free. Now I can just do the straight cut. At this point, just cut this through, why not? I do recommend that you save some Lexan though. So don't throw this whole thing away. There we go. And the reason why is you can use this for repairs. I mean, you can use it for a wing. Let's just say you get a major break. First of all, duct tape's your friend. The black one though, don't use the silver one. But something else you can do is something like this, double stick tape, ream a hole, 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 double stick tape, and then put 2 little screws. And that always works. So little screws, nuts. So save a piece of Lexan, don't just throw it away. So now we're going to continue on to the back. The back is just a straight line. You may have to trim later on, but figure that later. This body, even though it's advertised as a Revo 3.3, pretty much the nitro vehicles, I'm actually going to use this for an MT. So this is in, well, I said MT, that would just be monster truck, but MT410. So this is for a Tekno. Here we go. I'm actually going slow on purpose because Lexan is so thick, I'm afraid the scissors will just run and I'll trim too much. But I'm following the line. Now going this way, because this piece right here, let me show you, this piece is thinner, that lip compared to this, it's actually easier to go this way. But if you're going this way, definitely make some cuts here. And then just go up and over. Notice here I'm just going up and over. I'm not actually making those cuts because I don't need to. Now here you have 2 choices. You can actually just run this down, trim this later, or cut this off, trim over here. You could try cutting without this, but at this point, instead of running it down, I'm just going to trim it here, and then I'm going to work on the wheel well. Now, if you really wanted to, you do have these little forward molded areas. You can trim this out, try to paint it up. I don't know, keep it as decoration. It's your choice. But here we go. So now, first I'm gonna trim this side. Now that I have that turn, I can go ahead and flip the scissors, go the other way. And it's always best to take your time. And like I said, it's better to trim too little than to trim too much. If you trim too little, you can always go back and trim a little more. If you trim too much, you're kind of out of luck on that one. Now, the reason why I chose this body for the MT410 is because one, the thicker Lexan. Two, it just looks cool. Well, it looks cool in the picture. And three, it was the best one they had. The other ones were, I don't know, kind of ugly bodies, to be honest. So I bought this at a shop. There's nothing wrong with buying online, but if you can buy in a shop, go ahead and buy in a shop. Obviously, you have to look at your budget. So if it's far less expensive to buy online, then completely understand. But keep in mind that some shops will match online prices. So double check with them, see what online prices they match, and then you can go from there. So now this is just a straight line. Notice how I ran the scissors there. You have to be very confident of where you're running the scissors. And here, I'm just cutting on through. Here I have a little piece of excess. That's the excess from that turn. And one of the things to notice is notice how I cut too little. That's all right. I can just go back and trim. I cut too little right over here. I can just go back and trim. So go ahead and trim. And you want to trim this before you add paint. It doesn't really stand out when it's clear, but once you apply paint, then it'll really stand out because those edges are just going to pop. So make sure you do all the trimming before you paint. The other thing too is if you do not trim before painting, once you paint and you're running the scissors, you run the risk of scratching your paint. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm not really worried of touching this with my bare hands because I'm going to be washing this with dish soap. So just use a dish soap to wash the body afterwards thoroughly, dry it off. You can also use some rubbing alcohol and use rubbing alcohol. I do find that dish soap, any dish soap really, I mean Dawn soap works well. I think that's what I use. It does a very good job of just getting rid of the grease. There's no need to use grease and wax removers or paint thinner. If you have it, sure, why not? Just make sure that you wipe on and then you wipe off with a clean towel. Now here, this is really tough. So this portion here is tough, so make sure that you cut. I'm cutting straight through it. To be honest, it would have been easier if I'd gone through here. So just right through the edge, right through there. And my goal is to just trim this off, and that's it. Now, I'm not sure if you picked it up on the camera, but as I was trimming, I actually pulled the scissors back as I was closing them, and I did that on purpose so I wouldn't nick the bumper. So that's something else too. So as you're cutting, grab a little piece of Lexan. So as you're cutting, you cut, but then once you start getting close, you can either go really, really slow, or you can sort of pull back on the scissors a little. Just don't do it too hard, and it'll sort of stop. Just like I said, it's a small amount. If you do too much, you're gonna screw something up, or you're gonna move the body. So just be careful. And here we go. So I'm gonna continue on with the body right through here. You just go right on through. Like I said, this is very, very thick Lexan, which is nice because monster trucks are heavy vehicles. Keep in mind that a short course truck, your average two-wheel drive short course truck, fully dressed with just a standard body, for example, say a Slash or something similar, those vehicles are probably going to weigh about 2.5 kilos. So you're looking at 5 pounds, somewhere around there, a little over 5 pounds. This is with a full-size battery, body, wheels, tires, everything. Monster truck is going to be heavier than that, depending on the monster truck. So that's the reason why. Now it's sort of something to balance. Lexan, if it's thinner, it's more flexible, but if it's too thin, it will tear. So if you have, for example, if you've ever looked at an ultra light touring car body, I do have a review, I think it's a Betty design of one of those bodies and the weight, but those are very, very thin. But the thing is, they do tear like paper in hard impacts, but those are made for lightweight. That's the main purpose. Now, if you get Lexan, there's a point where if it's too thick, it'll start sort of cracking because it's not that flexible. So you almost want to go even thicker. For example, ProLine, I think, makes the, what do they call it, armor bodies or body armor bodies? I forget what they call them. They're generally a white plastic. They do make black ones. The thing with those is, yes, they're incredibly durable. They almost feel like PVC. But the thing is, they're also incredibly heavy. So you're gonna flip easier just because of the high center of gravity. So you flip a little more, but the body is very resistant. Those are very strong bodies. I'm not sure what they go for. They used to be about $80 to $100. Bash armor, might be called bash armor. I would have to check. Like I said, very nice. The only issue is you have to paint them on the outside, so then the paint's gonna be all scratched up. So that's a downside to it. So if you don't care and you're just strictly bashing, then go for it. Those are really good bodies. But here we go. So that is it. That's actually it. Just checking now if I need to trim anything further. Right here, there's a piece. And right here, there's a piece. So just double check everything. And I know this is Lexan, and most people think of Lexan as a very soft material. And it is a soft material. The only thing is, if you leave tiny little sharp edges, oh, those things are like barbs. So just make sure that you trim them. This is the other reason. There we go, perfect. Hopefully this is fine. Wheel well, this rear one. Curved scissors. There we go. And that's it. So now the next step is to grab the truck with the body mounts and then set it on top. So you want to use the vehicle that you're using for this. All right, and okay, here's the truck. Let me get this other motor out of the way. All you do is you just set the body on top. And then you look for those little dimples from the body mounts right in here, and you're just going to mark a dot. And that is it. Now, you really want to do this before you apply paint. It's much easier, but if you apply paint, it's not the end of the world. I do have another video where I do the holes. Depending on the paint color, most colors, unless they're really dark, such as black, you can just sort of pick up the vehicle, shine some light. So if, say you put it on a table, you look under, shine some light, you shine some light from underneath. So here, going up, and then you just mark based on the shadow. The other thing that you can do too is you can flip the vehicle. So let's just say this is like this, the vehicle's on top, and then you sort of do an X. So let's just say, let's see, I threw one of the body mounts here. So let's just say it's right about here, or it looks like this. If this is right here, you can just sort of do a cross, just like that. And then you estimate the center, and then you ream a small little hole, confirm. And if you got it, then you ream the larger hole. Now, this was a complete and utter mistake because I forgot to put some tape. This is actually the surface that you paint on. So I'm gonna have a beautiful little cross there. I'll try to get rid of it later. Yeah, so this is the side you can write on because it's the protective film. So now I'm gonna have some crazy little lines. Let me go ahead and put this back on. And body, so I'm trying to line everything up. This can be pushed back just a bit. You can try eyeballing everything, or you can actually get a ruler and measure stuff. So in the rear, I'm actually going based off these lines. So this is 1, that's 1. And see, that's the top one. Both need to be somewhat inside. All right, so the rear is fine, and the front looks good. Now you can use a ruler and then use a point. For example, here, that's about 1 centimeter. That's about 1 centimeter. And then you can use this over here as well. So let's see, so that's about, all right, so let me use a 10, which is a 20. Yeah, that's close enough. All right, and then just mark the dots. Now we can ream everything. Reamer, make sure your reamer is sharp. This one, unfortunately, I lent it to my brother. I need to get another one, although this one is good. But first thing I told him was not to drop it, and the first thing he did was dropped it. So he actually bent the tips. I had to fix it, but it is slightly bent. But once you do that, you really just get another one. Although this one's still fine. All right. Now on the reamer, you're gonna have these little lines. So you're gonna have the millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3, 4, 5. So if you know the diameter, just base it on the lines, stick the reamer through, and then just ream until you get to that point. So for example, this one, I already know this hole is the correct size, so I know I need to go to 7, so I'll go to 7. And that is 7, right there. Perfect. And here goes the next one. And they're all the same diameter, so I know I need to go to 7. One important thing with the reamers, when you ream, is don't push too much too fast, and then try to ream. And the reason why is if you take it slow, right, just apply a little bit of pressure. So the initial punch, you need more pressure. But then this, just kind of twist, take your time. you go. One, you run a lower risk of over-reaming. The other thing too, let me show you on one of these pieces of Lexan, is if you try reaming too fast, and the fact that you could potentially cut yourself, so you can damage the hole. So notice how that hole is now warped. So that's a risk that you run with. Now this Lexan is so thick that I was actually able to put a lot of pressure and just cut through. But if you do it with thinner Lexan, such as say a standard short course thickness, whatever that is, you're going to ruin the Lexan and warp that hole, and you're going to end up with this weird galaxy looking shape. But this is it, holes reamed. So now the only thing I have to do is try to get rid of those stupid marks that I put there. Notice you would have paint if you had done it that way. But now I get to paint it up and fit it on the truck. Here's the body fully painted. It's about 207 grams, so very similar to a short course truck body. It's almost double the thickness. But I do like the windows clear because it lets me see inside of the vehicle if I have any stones or anything in there. But this is it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My arm! My rod!